I'm sitting in my truck outside the courthouse, divorce papers still warm in my hands, watching the video one last time before I delete it forever. The screen shows two people who thought they were invisible, wrapped around each other in the false privacy of tinted windows. My thumb hovers over the delete button, but I can't do it yet. Not until I tell this story. Not until I explain how a man who'd built his life on trust decided to tear everything down to the foundation. 3 months ago, I would have sworn on my father's grave that Claire and I were solid. 15 years together, 12 married, working our way from a starter apartment to a 4-bedroom colonial in Westfield. I managed construction projects. She climbed the ladder at Morrison Marketing. We were the couple our friends envied, or so I thought. The changes started small. Designer perfume that made me sneeze, something French and expensive she'd never shown interest in before. "The girls at work all wear it," she said, angling away when I leaned in to kiss her neck. That should have been my first warning. Claire had never given a damn about keeping up with the girls at work. Then came the phone habits. We used to leave our phones anywhere. Kitchen counter, coffee table, forgotten in yesterday's jeans. Now hers lived face down, always within arm's reach. During dinner, she'd flip it to check messages, tilting the screen away like she was protecting state secrets. When I asked who kept texting, she'd wave vaguely. "Just work stuff," she replied dismissively. "Eric needs the quarterly projections updated." Eric Dalton, her boss. The man who'd sat at our anniversary dinner 6 months ago, raising his wine glass to toast the most dedicated employee I've ever had the pleasure of managing. His wife Eleanor had been there too, quiet and elegant, her smile never quite reaching her eyes. I remember thinking they seemed disconnected, barely speaking to each other. Now I wonder if Eleanor already knew what I was too blind to see. The late night started in February. "Big client presentation," Claire would announce, gathering her laptop bag at 8 p.m. "Don't wait up." She'd return smelling wrong. Not like another man's cologne. She was too smart for that. But the smell of her own perfume was different, reapplied hastily, mixed with something antiseptic like hotel soap. I found a receipt in her car for La Perla lingerie, $200 for something I'd never seen. When I mentioned it, casually, carefully, she laughed. "That was for Sharon's bachelorette gift," she said with practiced ease. "You know how expensive that stuff is." Except Sharon's bachelorette party had been 3 months ago, and this receipt was dated last Tuesday. Every marriage has rough patches. That's what I told myself when she started showering the moment she got home, when she began sleeping in oversized t-shirts instead of the silk nightgowns I'd bought her, when she flinched if I touched her unexpectedly. Construction teaches you to recognize structural problems before collapse. A crack here, a shift there, and suddenly you're looking at catastrophic failure. The Friday it all went to hell, she stood in our kitchen, loading the dishwasher with practiced efficiency, voice carrying that rehearsed quality I'd learned to recognize. "I'm going shopping with the girls this afternoon," she announced. "Probably grab dinner after. You don't mind, do you?" "Which girls?" I asked, not looking up from the permits I was reviewing. "Oh, you know, Lisa, Karen from accounting." She paused deliberately. "Maybe Sandra if she can get a sitter." The thing about lies is they often contain unnecessary detail. Claire never mentioned Sandra needing a sitter before. Sandra's kids were teenagers. I kissed her goodbye at noon, tasting lipstick that seemed too carefully applied for outlet shopping. Watched her check her reflection in the hallway mirror twice. Noticed she was wearing the black dress that hugged her curves, the one she used to save for date nights. "Have fun," I said. "You too," she replied, already halfway out the door. "Don't work too hard." I waited 15 minutes before following her. Not because I'd planned it, not because I was some paranoid husband who tracked his wife's every move, but because my chest felt tight, like I was about to fall off scaffolding, and 30 years in construction had taught me to trust that feeling. My hands were steady as I started the truck. This wasn't noble. It wasn't justified. It was just something I couldn't stop myself from doing, like watching a wrecking ball swing toward a building you'd spent years creating. I needed to know. The weight of not knowing was crushing me slowly, pressing down on my chest until I couldn't breathe. So I followed my wife to the outlet mall, telling myself I was crazy, telling myself I'd laugh about this paranoia later. I wouldn't be laughing. My truck idled 3 rows back as Claire's silver Lexus turned into the outlet mall parking structure. I'd followed her enough times in my head over the past weeks that doing it for real felt like déjà vu. Every turn she made, I'd already imagined. Every red light where I might lose her, I'd already planned for. I kept telling myself she'd park near Nordstrom Rack where she always met Lisa. She'd walk through those automatic doors and I'd sit in my truck feeling like the world's biggest asshole for doubting her. Maybe I'd even buy her flowers on the way home, make up some excuse about wanting to surprise her. But she didn't park near Nordstrom. She drove past the main mall entrance entirely, climbing to the 3rd level of the structure where it was mostly empty on a Friday afternoon. My chest tightened with each circular turn upward. Nobody parks on level 3 for shopping. Level 3 is where you go when you don't want to be seen. I pulled into a spot behind a concrete pillar, watching her sedan cruise slowly past empty spaces, like she was looking for something specific. Or someone. There, a black SUV, one of those luxury Lincolns that executives drive when they want to seem successful but not ostentatious. I knew that car. It had been in our driveway 6 months ago when Eric dropped off Claire's laptop that she'd forgotten at the office. My hands gripped the steering wheel hard enough to leave marks. Maybe it was coincidence. Maybe Eric was shopping too. Maybe his wife needed something from Williams-Sonoma and he was being a good husband and... Claire parked 2 spaces away from the Lincoln. She sat in her car for 30 seconds, checking her makeup in the mirror, applying lipstick with the precision of a surgeon. Through the windshield, I watched her take 3 deep breaths, the way she used to before important presentations. When she got out, the black dress rode up slightly, and she smoothed it down with practiced motion. Her heels echoed through the empty structure, confident clicks that sounded nothing like a woman meeting girlfriends for casual shopping. She walked past the Lincoln without looking at it, but her fingers trailed along the hood, a gesture so intimate it made my stomach turn. She stood at the concrete barrier overlooking the mall, pretending to check her phone, waiting. Construction site had taught me to document everything. Cover your ass with evidence, my foreman always said. Their voices carried in the concrete cavern. I missed you. Eric laughed, pulling her closer. 3 days. And it wasn't the desperate kiss of new lovers. It was practiced, comfortable. His hand made a sound, soft, needy, that hit me like a sledgehammer to the chest. Broke apart. Daniel thinks I'm shopping with the girls. Her laugh was cruel, dismissive. You're terrible, Eric said, but he was smiling. You love it, she purred. I love. Words hung there. Claire's response was to pull him back to the Lincoln, fumbling with the door handle. They tumbled into the... I kept filming. 30 seconds of undeniable truth. His wedding ring flashing, her voice saying things. God. Saying things I'd never heard, making sounds that were foreign to me after 12 years of marriage. I stopped recording when his hand pushed up her dress. Some things even revenge doesn't need to see. The walk to the Lincoln took 10 seconds, but felt like crossing a desert. My work boots were silent on the concrete, years of navigating construction sites teaching me to move without sound. I yanked the door open. "What the hell?" Eric started. I dragged him out by his collar, his body hitting the concrete with a satisfying thud. My fist connected with his jaw before he could stand, 15 years of hauling lumber and swinging hammers behind it. The crack echoed through the parking structure. "Daniel!" Claire's scream was shrill, panicked. She scrambled to pull her dress down, mascara already running. "Daniel, please, it's not—" "Not what it looks like?" I laughed, and the sound was ugly even to my ears. "Really? That's your line?" Eric tried to stand, blood running from his nose. "Look, man," he gasped. "We can talk about—" My boot caught him in the ribs. Not hard enough to break anything, but hard enough to drop him. "Stay down," I commanded. "Stop!" Claire was out of the car now, reaching for me. "You're going to kill him." "No," I said, stepping back. "I'm not going to touch him again, or you." Security was already running toward us, radios crackling. Someone had heard the commotion or seen it on cameras. Good. I wanted witnesses to see me walking away. "Daniel, wait!" Claire called after me, her voice breaking on my name. "Please, we need to talk. I can explain." I turned back once. She stood there in that black dress, hair messed, lipstick smeared, looking like a stranger wearing my wife's face. "I have everything I need," I said, holding up my phone. The security guards reached Eric first, helping him sit up. One approached me, but I held up my hands. "I'm leaving," I announced. "He can press charges if he wants. I'll be at home." The walk back to my truck was the longest of my life. Behind me, Claire kept calling my name, her voice getting more desperate with each repetition. But those syllables, Danielle, they didn't mean anything anymore. They were just sounds, echoing off concrete, fading into nothing. I drove home in perfect silence, uploaded the video to 3 different cloud services, then sat in my driveway staring at the house we'd built together. The foundation was solid. I'd made sure of that when we bought it. But everything above ground was compromised now, rot hidden behind fresh paint. Time to tear it all down. At 3 a.m., my home office looked like a war room. Bank statements covered the desk, printed emails hung from a makeshift clothesline, legal documents sat in color-coded folders. I'd been at this for 6 hours straight, fueled by black coffee and cold rage. Sarah Kellerman's business card sat propped against my monitor. "Best divorce attorney in the state," my foreman had said when he gave it to me. "She handled mine when I caught Denise with the neighbor. Took him for everything." The consultation was scheduled for Monday morning, but I wasn't waiting idle. The video was already backed up in 6 places, edited down to the most damning 30 seconds. Nothing graphic, I wasn't that kind of man, but enough. The wedding rings visible, the admission of deception, the casual cruelty of their laughter at our expense. I'd found Eleanor Dalton's contact information through LinkedIn. Marketing director at a pharmaceutical company, Cornell MBA, mother of 2. Her profile photo showed a polished woman with tired eyes. She deserved to know. The email was simple. "Mrs. Dalton, you don't know me, but our spouses know each other very well. You deserve the truth. I'm sorry it has to come this way. Daniel Morrison." 1 attachment. Send. Next came Morrison Marketing's board of directors. Their emails were public record, listed in the company's annual report Claire had brought home last month. The irony wasn't lost on me. She'd been so proud of Eric's executive photo in that report, pointing out how professional he looked. 2. Board of Directors, Morrison Marketing, Ethical violation, senior executive conduct. The attached video documents inappropriate conduct between Eric Dalton, senior executive, and a direct report. This represents a severe breach of professional ethics and company policy regarding workplace relationships and power dynamics. I trust you will handle this matter with appropriate seriousness. Send. HR got the same email. So did the 3 largest clients, whose CEO contact information I'd gathered from the proposal drafts Claire had left on our shared laptop. In construction, we call it load distribution. Spread the weight evenly so no single point fails. I wanted Eric to feel the pressure from every angle. My phone buzzed. Eric calling. I let it ring, screenshotting the call log. Another buzz. A text. We need to talk about this like adults. Then another. You don't understand the situation. And another. This will destroy innocent people. I screenshotted them all. Evidence of consciousness of guilt. My foreman would be proud of the paper trail. Claire wouldn't be home until morning. She'd texted earlier, staying at her mother's, needed space to think. I'd replied with a thumbs-up emoji, letting her believe she still had control of the narrative. She didn't know about the locksmith coming at 8, the moving company scheduled for 9, or the storage unit I'd already rented under my name only. By 4 a.m., I'd cataloged everything. Joint assets would be split per state law, but I'd already moved half our savings to a personal account, my legal right as a spouse. The house would have to be sold, but I'd already lined up a temporary apartment near my current project site. Claire's jewelry, the gifts I'd given her over the years, went into a box marked Return to Sender. The prenup we'd signed, back when we were young and stupid and thought it was romantic to protect each other just in case, would actually serve its purpose. Infidelity clause was ironclad. She'd get her retirement account, her car, and half the house equity. Nothing more. My phone lit up. Eleanor Dalton calling. 4:47 a.m. in New Jersey. She'd seen the email. Is this real? Her voice was controlled, professional, but I could hear the fracture lines. Yes, I replied. How long? She asked. 6 months, maybe more. I only found out today. Silence. Then, he's still asleep. He thinks I don't know about the burner phone in his car. I'm sorry, I said. Don't be, she replied firmly. You did me a favor. A pause. I've already forwarded your email to my attorney and his mother. The call ended. Within an hour, Eric's Facebook would show, "It's complicated," then disappear entirely. Eleanor worked fast. Dawn broke as I printed the last document. The construction crew would wonder why I looked like hell, but they wouldn't ask. That was the beauty of working with men who'd all been through their own divorces. They recognized the walking wounded. My phone exploded with notifications around 7 a.m. Claire calling repeatedly, texts escalating from confusion to panic. Why is there a locksmith van outside? Daniel, what's happening? The house locks don't work. Answer your phone. I pulled into the construction site, phone on silent. My foreman, Big Mike, took one look at me and poured coffee into my thermos without a word. Heard there's drama at that marketing firm, he said after an hour, casual as weather talk. Someone sent a video to the whole board. CEOs having emergency meetings. That so? I kept my eyes on the blueprints. Yeah, Mike continued. Apparently some executive was banging his subordinate. Both of them out on their asses by lunch, way I heard it. I took a sip of coffee. Shame when people can't keep it professional. Mike studied me for a long moment, then clapped my shoulder. You need anything, brother, he said. You say the word. The texts from Claire shifted tone by afternoon. Eric was fired. They fired me too. This is insane. You've ruined everything. We could have worked this out. Please, Daniel, please talk to me. I finally responded at 3 p.m. Your belongings are in the garage. Divorce papers on kitchen counter. House key under the mat. Don't contact me except through lawyers. Her response was immediate. You bastard, you destroyed everything. I stared at the text, then typed back, No, Claire. That was you. Then I blocked her number. By evening, the Charlotte business community was buzzing. Eric Dalton, rising star, terminated for misconduct. His wife filing for divorce, taking the kids to her mother's in Connecticut. The scandal was contained but spreading. Whispers in country clubs and conference rooms. I sat in my new apartment, boxes still unpacked, eating Chinese takeout from the container. The walls were bare, the furniture minimal, but the structure was sound. Tomorrow I'd meet with Sarah Kellerman, sign papers, begin the legal dissolution. Tonight, I'd rebuilt my life from the ground up, one methodical decision at a time. My phone buzzed, a LinkedIn notification. 3 CEOs had viewed my profile, probably trying to figure out who'd blown up Eric Dalton's career. I smiled grimly and went back to my blueprints. Some men would have just walked away, been the bigger person, let karma handle it. But karma's a luxury for people who haven't spent 15 years learning that if you don't control the demolition, the whole thing comes down on your head. I controlled this demolition perfectly. Claire stood in my apartment doorway, designer raincoat dripping on the hallway carpet. 2 weeks since I'd moved out and she'd lost weight, her face angular in ways that reminded me of when we were broke college kids surviving on ramen. "Can I come in?" she asked, tentatively. I stepped aside without a word. She entered cautiously, like the space might be booby-trapped. Her eyes swept the sparse furniture, the single plate in the dish rack, the construction blueprints covering my coffee table. "You've really moved on," she observed quietly. "You wanted to talk." "Talk," I replied. She sat on my second-hand couch, hands folded in her lap. The wedding ring was gone, a pale band of skin in its place. She was wearing the perfume from our first date, vanilla and jasmine, a scent I'd once loved. Now it just smelled like manipulation. "I need you to understand," she began, "that it meant nothing." I remained standing, arms crossed. "That it was a mistake? That you never meant to hurt me? Which cliché are we starting with?" Her composure cracked. "It wasn't supposed to happen." "Bullshit," I shot back. "Affairs don't just happen, Claire. You made 1,000 small decisions. Every text you sent him, every lie you told me, every time you chose to meet him instead of coming home." "It started in Chicago," she said, her voice small. "That conference in January. We'd had too much wine at the client dinner. Everyone else had left. He told me how brilliant my presentation was, how I was undervalued, how you didn't appreciate what you had. So you f***ed him," I stated flatly. She flinched. "Not that night. We just talked. But something shifted. When we got back, he started messaging me. Little things, jokes about coworkers, articles he thought I'd like. It felt good to have someone who understood my work." "I understood your work," I protested. "You tolerated it," she shot back. The accusation hung between us. "When's the last time you asked about my projects?" "My goals?" You'd come home covered in dust and zone out when I talked about strategic positioning or market analysis. "So that justifies it?" I challenged. "I was building our future while you were building PowerPoints, and somehow that made me the villain." "No." Tears started falling, but she didn't wipe them. "I'm not trying to justify it. I'm trying to explain. With Eric, I felt seen, important, like I was more than just someone's wife." "You were never just someone's wife," I said firmly. "You were my partner, my best friend, the person I trusted most in the world." "I know," she whispered, her voice breaking completely. "God, Daniel, I know. And I threw it all away for what? He won't even return my calls now. His lawyer sent a cease and desist letter. Apparently, I'm a liability to his divorce proceedings." I couldn't help the bitter laugh. "You thought he'd choose you?" "I thought—" She stopped, shook her head. "It doesn't matter what I thought. I've lost everything. My job, my reputation, my husband. They walked me out of Morrison with a security escort. 12 years building my career, gone in 12 minutes. "You'll find another job," I said. No, I won't. She pulled out her phone, showed me an email. This went to every major firm in the city. Eric might land somewhere eventually. He's got connections, golf buddies who'll give him another chance. But me? I'm the subordinate who slept with her boss. I'm toxic. The silence stretched. Part of me wanted to feel sympathy, but all I found was hollow satisfaction. Did you know Eleanor took everything? Claire continued. The house, the investments, full custody. She had a forensic accountant go through their finances. Turns out Eric had a history. I wasn't his first office romance, just his most recent. You're telling me this why? I asked. Because I need you to know I wasn't special, she replied bitterly. I wasn't his soulmate or the love of his life. I was just convenient, available, stupid enough to believe him. She stood, faced me directly. And I need to ask you something. I waited. How can you be so cruel? She demanded. The video, the emails, making sure everyone knew. You didn't just want to divorce me, you wanted to destroy me. I wanted consequences, I replied evenly. This goes beyond consequences, she accused. This is scorched earth. I stepped closer, close enough to see the mascara she'd waterproofed for this conversation. You want to know about cruelty? Cruelty is letting me kiss you goodbye every morning knowing you were going to him. Cruelty is sitting across from me at dinner, texting him while I talked about my day. Cruelty is coming home smelling like hotel soap and climbing into our bed like nothing happened. I never meant, she started. Cruelty, I continued, voice steady as poured concrete, is laughing with him about how I believed Sandra needed a sitter, like I was some pathetic joke, some stupid trusting fool who deserved to be deceived. She crumbled then, sobbing into her hands. I'm sorry. Daniel, I'm so hecking sorry. I know you are, I replied. Now, after you lost everything. But you weren't sorry when you had him. You weren't sorry when you thought you'd get away with it. What do you want me to say? She cried. That I'm a horrible person? Fine, I'm horrible. I destroyed our marriage for nothing. I hurt the one person who truly loved me. Is that what you need to hear? I don't need to hear anything from you, I stated. She moved toward the door, then stopped. The divorce papers, I signed them, uncontested. You can file whenever you're ready. Monday, I confirmed. She nodded, opened the door, then turned back one last time. That video, do you still have it? No, I lied. It was archived, encrypted, buried so deep even I'd need effort to find it. Insurance for a future I hoped would never come. I really did love you, she said softly. I just forgot for a while. No, Claire, I corrected. You just got caught. I closed the door on her, listened to her heels click down the hallway, each step taking her further from the life we'd built. Through my window, I watched her get into her Lexus, the one thing she'd kept in the divorce. She sat there for 5 minutes before driving away. My phone buzzed. Big Mike and the crew headed to Murphy's bar. First round's on us, the text read. I grabbed my jacket, locked the apartment, headed for my truck. The boys would drink to my freedom without asking questions, offer solidarity without requiring explanations. Tomorrow, we'd build something new, something solid, something that would last. The foundation was already set. Everything else could be rebuilt from scratch. 6 months later, I stood on the roof of the Riverside Commercial Complex, watching sunrise paint the city gold. My crew had finished this project 2 weeks ahead of schedule under budget, with 0 safety incidents. The bonus would keep everyone happy through the holidays. My phone vibrated. Jessica. Coffee still on for 9? I want to hear about the Chicago proposal. I smiled, texted back. Your place or mine? Yours. Better view, came her quick reply. Jessica Huang, structural engineer, divorced, 2 kids, absolutely no tolerance for bullshit. We'd met on this project, discovered we shared the same dark humor about failed marriages, Started having coffee, then dinner, now whatever this was becoming. She knew my story. I'd told her on our third date, wanting full transparency. She'd listened, nodded, said, "Good. I don't date doormats." The city below was waking up, traffic beginning its daily crawl. Somewhere down there, Claire was probably getting ready for another day at the department store where she'd found work. Her mother had mentioned it when I'd run into her at the grocery store, voice careful and sad. "She's doing better," she'd said, like I'd asked. "Taking things one day at a time." Eric Dalton had landed in Seattle, according to LinkedIn. Business development manager at a startup, probably making half his previous salary. His profile showed him single, no mention of the family he'd demolished for afternoon parking garage encounters. Eleanor had returned to her maiden name, her own profile showing a promotion to vice president at a competing pharmaceutical company. Success, apparently, was the best revenge. The video lived in an encrypted folder I hadn't opened since the divorce finalized. Sometimes I forgot it existed. Other times, usually at 3 a.m. when sleep wouldn't come, I remembered the weight of that camera in my hand, documenting the collapse of everything I'd believed solid. "You coming down? Or you planning to fly?" Big Mike's voice carried up the stairwell. 2 minutes, I called back. The morning sun was warm on my face, the air crisp with October's arrival. Below, my truck sat in the parking lot, toolbox secure in the bed, ready for the next project. We had 3 more buildings lined up, enough work to keep the crew busy through spring. I thought about the man who'd sat in that truck 6 months ago, watching his wife walk toward another man's car. He'd been operating on pure instinct, destruction his only blueprint. The man standing on this roof had learned to build again, but differently. Stronger foundations, better materials, no blind trust in structural integrity without regular inspections. "Some would say I went too far," I said to the empty roof. The words felt rehearsed because they were. I'd been practicing this speech for months, waiting for someone to ask. But nobody did. The men I worked with understood that sometimes demolition was the only answer. The lawyers had seen worse. Jessica just said, "Sounds like they had it coming." My phone buzzed again, an unknown number with a local area code. I almost didn't answer, then curiosity won. "Daniel?" "It's Eleanor Dalton," came the familiar voice. "Eleanor." I moved away from the roof's edge, suddenly alert. "Everything okay?" "Yes, actually," she replied. "I wanted to thank you. I know that sounds strange after all this time, but I've been in therapy, and my therapist suggested reaching out." "No thanks necessary," I said. "There is, though," she insisted. "You could have just divorced her quietly. Let me stay ignorant. Most men would have." "I'm not most men," I replied. "No," she agreed. "You're not. How are you? Really?" I considered lying, giving the automatic fine that ended conversations. But she'd earned honesty. "Better. Different, but better. You?" "Thriving, actually," she said warmly. "The kids are adjusting. We moved closer to my parents. I got promoted. Started dating someone who actually comes home when he says he will." "Good for you," I said sincerely. "Daniel, can I ask you something?" "Shoot." "Do you regret it?" she asked carefully. "The way you handled everything?" I watched a hawk circle above the construction site, riding thermals higher and higher. "I regret that it needed handling at all." "That's not an answer," she pointed out. "It's the only one I have," I replied. She was quiet for a moment. "Fair enough. Take care of yourself, Daniel." "You too, Eleanor." The call ended. I deleted the number immediately. That chapter officially closed. Down in the parking lot, Jessica's Prius pulled up next to my truck. She got out carrying 2 coffee cups, her safety helmet already on, steel-toed boots matching her business suit. She caught me watching and raised 1 cup in salute. This was what rebuilding looked like. not trying to reconstruct what was demolished, but creating something entirely new on the cleared ground. Every beam placed with intention, every joint reinforced, every connection tested before bearing weight. I headed down the stairs, work boots echoing in the empty stairwell. At ground level, Jessica handed me coffee, black, no sugar, strong enough to strip paint. "You look thoughtful," she observed. "Just enjoying the view," I replied. "From the roof?" She raised an eyebrow. "Or after the demolition?" I smiled, real and unguarded. "Both." We walked toward the next project site, blueprints under my arm, her tablet already pulling up specifications. Behind us, the Riverside complex stood solid against the morning sky, proof that you could build something worthwhile from rubble. The foundation was everything. Get that right, and the rest would hold. Some would say I went too far, that forgiveness was the higher path, that I should have just walked away clean. But here's what I learned laying foundations for 15 years. You can't build anything solid on unstable ground. Sometimes you have to demolish everything and start over. Sometimes scorched earth is the only way to ensure nothing toxic grows back. I made my choice. I live with it. And on mornings like this, with honest work ahead and no lies waiting at home, I know it was the right one. The past was rubble, the future was blueprint, and today, we build. And so, we've reached the end of today's story. Was it what you expected, or did it take a twist you didn't see coming? I'm curious to hear your thoughts. Share them in the comments below, and let's get a conversation going. If this story kept you hooked, make sure to hit that like button. And if you're new here or just haven't subscribed yet, now's the perfect time to join our community. I bring you fresh, captivating stories every day, so click that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss out. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.